Good afternoon, everyone. Lovely video. I know that you've been doing a lot of hard work. A lot of brain work has been done in the last day and a half. And again, I thank you so much. And I'm so excited to see your presentations. And I know that you are too. And I want to tell you that regardless, you will all get an A+ from me. So don't worry. So before we get started, I just want to thank some of the special guests that we have here with us today. And so we want to thank Dr. Lorraine Prinsky, our Board of Trustees Vice President. Lorraine. We also have Trustee Jim Moreno, who's Board Clerk and also the statewide President of the Trustee Board. Trustee Moreno. We also have Vice Chancellor of Educational Services and Technology, Dr. Andreas Urban. And our money guy here, so let's all be good to him, Vice Chancellor of Admin Services. See, you got all the love. We also have with us Ralph Looney, who is the Senior IT Director for Infrastructure. Ralph. And Rupa Saran, who's the Senior IT Director for Applications. Thank you. And of course, we have our leadership group here as well, who have been partaking in all the different groups. We have Ann Holliday, our Academic Senate President, an overall troublemaker. Rosalie Triggs, our Classified Senate President. And our Vice Presidents, Christine Wynn and Vince Rodriguez, and Executive Dean Joycelyn Groot. And of course, again, I just want to say this took a lot of time and effort, and a lot of love went into the planning of this event. And so again, I want you to join me in a warm round of thank you applause to Shelley Blair and Aaron Sentner. As well as our Guided Pathways Faculty Coordinator, Josh Levenchas. And of course, Jerry has been with us, helping set up all of our IT needs. Thank you, Jerry. And our very own beloved Senior IT Director, or IT Director, Dave Thompson. So, and last but not least, staff support have been Kim Bowie from Shelley's office, from Distance Learning, and from the President's office. They're still sitting outside, helping out Yadira Lopez and Lila Mertz. And I know, oh, there you are. And we have some staff who are joining us through a webinar, but we also have some who came over here. So would all of the staff and faculty who just came for the afternoon presentations please stand or raise your hands? Yay, thank you. So without further ado, let's get started with the program. And Dr. Shelley Blair will just provide a quick overview of where we've been in terms of our Guided Pathways movement leading up to today. And then I look forward to seeing all of your presentations. Again, thank you so much. It's been a lot of hard work, but I hope that you leave inspired. I was just talking with Nathan, and he said, yes, it's been a very lot of hard work the last day and a half, but he has felt a sense of stronger connection to Coastline and also leaving inspired, and I hope that holds true for most of you as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, and I know she thanked me for helping to plan the retreat, but this was a team effort. So thank you to everyone who helped, especially Aaron helped a ton and took a lot of my late night panicked phone calls about logistics, flyers and handouts. Where have we been with Guided Pathways? This is a short summary of some of our recent milestones. So just gonna walk us through that, what we've been up to. In 2017, Rob Johnstone and A2I2 came out and spoke at Fall Flex Day, and that's when the work began to convene our cross-functional work group. We also completed a self-assessment and focus group discussions with the various stakeholders and submitted the self-assessment to the Chancellor's office. So Aaron's office was really instrumental in doing that, and a lot of colleges went through the self-assessment with just the leadership, but we really took the initiative to get multiple perspectives and do a campus-wide survey. In 2018, we had Spring Flex Day activities, so Aaron and I made a silly video that you may have seen. If not, I can send it to you. And we really engaged the classified professionals in a discussion about what Guided Pathways was in their understanding, what their hopes and fears about Guided Pathways were, and how we could engage them better in the Guided Pathways movement. One of the big outcomes was they said, we want more opportunities in person or via Zoom to get updates and share information. So since then, we created a YouTube channel. We've videoed a lot of our work and provided it in Zoom format as well. So we're really excited to be doing that again today. We had a steering work group that created the student life cycle, which we're going to look at in a minute. We defined Guided Pathways for Coastline, and then we did what we're required to do, which was submit a work plan to the state. So the steering work group was really key in that. We had a consultant visit and established our design principles, had some work group meetings, attended a facilitation training, and we hired a Guided Pathways faculty coordinator. So Josh, if you would turn around, wave your hand. Here's Josh Leventis. Thank you. Oh, I think we may have lost the clicker. Can somebody click for me? Thanks, Aaron. One of the key things we wanted to do was come up with Coastline's definition of guided pathways. And this is what it is. Coastline's Guided Pathways movement is an equity-based mindset and practice to facilitate student success. We really wanted to keep equity at the heart of the work that we're doing so that we can achieve equitable outcomes for all of our students. So what are we doing here today? This week, on Wednesday and Thursday, I feel like I've been here like 7 days, we had a retreat with all of the work groups. So we are forming 10 work groups overall, and we're launched 6 work groups this week. So 6 of those groups met. They're all cross-functional teams of 10 to 12 people representing different departments, different areas of expertise, faculty, administrators, and classified professionals, all in one jumble of fun. That's what we've been working with here the last 2 days, is getting a solid vision, getting some objectives for the group, and some direction, and doing some team building exercises and activities. So I am very excited to hear the presentations today. Each of the work groups will be sharing with you about their objectives overall. One of the other accomplishments we had was the student life cycle. If you take a look at Guided Pathways, you will often notice the 4 pillars of Guided Pathways. And one of the things in our conversations at Coastline is really doesn't reflect a student's journey because it's not linear. We notice that students move back and forth between things. Somebody registers for classes and then they have a financial issue during a class, right? It's not like you take care of financial aid and then you move on to the next stage. So that's what was really at the heart of this graphic that we created. Some people call them planets. Some people are annoyed at calling them planets, so I don't know quite if they're planets or not. But the idea is that a student moves from clarify to enter to persist to succeed. And this was really how we formed our work groups and got some of our key initiatives that we put in our work plan that was submitted to the state. We also established some design principles, and I'm delighted to invite someone else up to come and share those. Dr. Vince Rodriguez.
So our design principles help to make sure we're all coming at things from the same perspective. And I'll talk about them briefly as you've seen here. And I think it's also helpful not only for those that are new to the groups that maybe haven't seen it, but from time to time for our work groups to be reminded of the things that we've agreed to that we're going to have in common. So in general, design principles are concise, specific guidelines for generating ideas and artifacts. Good design principles provide a common language and serve as shared reference points for design, development, and deployment. Working from a shared principle helps teams make decisions independently while sustaining a consistent and coherent vision. They can be filters for making decisions. And we have 14 of them for our college. And this was not something that didn't come about without some in-depth discussion. The first one being, we're working to implement guided pathways at scale for all new students entering in fall 2020. Now, that does not mean we're not doing any work until then, but in fall 2020, all new students will be under a new environment and hopefully a very new experience that is much better. Number 2, focus and mission. Much of this was done this week. Each work group will propose a focus and mission for the work groups that will be reviewed and approved by the Guided Pathways core team. 3, consider coastline. Working groups should design for coastline first and identify district implications. Number 4, transformation. We are working to transform Coastline's approach to better serve today's students on their journey, not tweak around the edges. Number 5, our history. We acknowledge and are proud of our institutional history, but that we are not tied to past practices as we build Coastline's future. Number 6, decision making. Work groups make recommendations to the Guided Pathways core team. The core team communicates effectively and solicits feedback where necessary, refines recommendation, and informs PIAC, which is Planning Institutional Effectiveness Committee and Accreditation Committee, and recommends to College Council with President making final decisions. Number 7, student segments. And I think this is one that came up over and over again in discussions the last 2 days. Pathways reforms need to be designed for both face-to-face and online/distant students. Funding, Andy will like this. Assume that there is no new funding at any support funding comes through the regular funding request processes. That is a perfect assumption. Math and English requirements. Maps and meta majors need to be enable students to complete transfer level math and English in their first academic year. And it's actually a requirement now under AB 705. Use of mandatory. Work groups can include mandatory steps for students in their designs, which will be reviewed and approved through the process. Number 11, student voice. All work groups should include students in the design process. Number 12, advising. Coastline will implement a case-managed advising approach aligning with national standards for best practices tailored to the needs of individual students. Number 13, equity mindset. All designs need to integrate an equity mindset to ensure the completion and post-graduation outcomes improve and become equitable for all groups. And number 14, professional development. All work groups should identify professional development and training necessary so that they can implement those changes. So this is our design principles that we refer to and been referenced many times over the last 2 days, and something that we can continue to go back to as we're making decisions or when we get stuck to come back to and consider. So thank you for everyone who's been working on that.
Do we have any questions about the design principles or the definition of guided pathways before we hear from the groups? Ready? All right. So what we're going to do now is, I'm going to lose the clicker again. Here we go. Is we're going to hear from our groups. First, we'll have onboarding and then student academic persistence. So onboarding, if you want to come on up and get ready and get your slideshow up, that would be great. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? All right, awesome. I was hoping for like a louder great or, oh, okay, yes. Thank you. That kind of makes us feel better. So my name is Amy Evangelista. I am a general counselor. I can also be called boss. That's what everybody else is calling me lately. And you're about to watch our presentation on onboarding. We have Dawn Wilson, Director of Marketing, on the PowerPoint to make sure we don't have any technical glitches. So there she is, and we'll get started.
Hello, thank you for being here. My name is Stephanie. So our onboarding group, one of the first things that we had to start with is where do we see our group on the student life cycle? So our main focus in the student life cycle is the interphase, and that deals with applying, onboarding, register, and prepare. But you can see though it overlaps. We're just not, the interphase. We actually overlap with clarity and persist as well. So it gets down to starts at explore and ends when the student registers for their second semester is kind of our thought on that. That's it.
Okay, so as a group, one of our biggest tasks was to kind of get a statement that would encompass everything we're trying to accomplish. And so our vision statement actually that we came up with was to create a welcoming, clearly defined, and easy to follow onboarding process that provides students a sense of, you belong here.
I'm Jordan Nguyen, one of the counselors. So for the objectives for onboarding, the first one is application, and obviously we can't really change the CCC apply process as it is a very difficult process, but we do want to develop a process that prior to applying on that we would have a very streamlined steps for students to really understand all the next steps, such as orientation, assessment, and to follow for students to really understand that. And how we're going to do that is to really develop a very interactive interface for students to really see, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z, and here are the help options, and there's videos for students to understand the entire process, and then from there they will be able to apply through the CCC apply.
Currently, for the orientation process, we have a very generic orientations that is covered at the 3 colleges. What we would hope to see is have it customized for Coastline and make sure to cover the populations that we served, the distant learners, on-site students, as well as incarcerated students. Make sure to cover the information offered by the college, as well as the academic programs that we offer here, and also emphasize services that we offer as student services. Highlights the programs that we have that shine stars program, for example, EOPS, DSPS, Promise students. So once the student's able to get those information, the foundation of it, they're able to navigate Coastline and ensure that the third step is assessment. Assessment is to ensure that students take the right classes, English and math, in compliance with AB 705. We want to make sure that students successfully complete their transfer level coursework in English and math within the 1-year time frame. We are working closely with faculty to ensure that the multiple options that we have, the traditional placement testing, AgriPlacer, then the multiple measures utilizing the high school's data and the self-placement information that we have. Working closely right now, faculty have a lot of things to do, is doing co-requisite. Next step is counseling.
And for those of you who don't know, this is Mai Lee. She's our Triple SP coordinator and currently our interim director of EOPS. I'm Bruce Keeler, Dean of Counseling, and to continue with our objectives along the onboarding process, we really felt that obviously counseling is a very important aspect of that, and we really feel that it's very important that students, before they register, have at least a 1-semester student educational plan, but at least 2 semesters. And tied to that is with their registration, in order to sort of facilitate them getting into their classes. You know, Coastline has multiple campuses. We would like the SEP and hopefully find technology that will connect the SEP directly with scheduling and the registration process. So whatever shows up on their SEP, it'll be a corresponding CRN or class schedule of those available classes so that students don't really get lost in trying to find where they go or when they should be taking their classes.
Tom Neal, Dean of Instruction. So as we continue our welcoming and very smooth and direct way that we expect students to follow, we're going to get them prepared for day 1. And day 1 would include how do I buy textbooks? Where do I find those textbooks? Where do I find that information? Which campus am I on? Am I online? Am I have a hybrid class? Am I at Westminster campus? Am I at the Newport Beach campus? We also want a quick video of how to online. We realize that a lot of our students are jumping right into an online class and they don't quite know how to do that, so we're going to continue these little videos, these very welcoming videos for students so they understand the basics of how to do that. We realize there's a whole class on that if they wish to do that. We'd like to also then begin to connect them with the campus, because we all know that the more connected a student is to the campus, the better they are academically. So signing up for the apps on our websites and on our cell phones, what clubs are available to students, and all other means of social media, and of course how to get my email and why I would want to use it. And before we wrap with our students, we want to ensure the 2 milestones are met before we hand off to the Persist group, and in conjunction with the Persist group, and those 2 milestones are that students will be able to enroll themselves by the second semester, so that's a milestone. We'd like them to be self-sufficient. And lastly, as many of you hear me say often, we want them to know the 5 people that are going to make them and help them be successful. That could be a counselor. That could be somebody in a club. That could be a staff member who's been helping them along the way. It could be somebody in Student Success Center. But to get them to know, or a professor along the way that they really have fallen in love with and want to know more from. So we want them to meet those 2 milestones as we hand them off to the Persist group.
Lily, Financial Aid Specialist. That's the end of our presentation. Does anybody have questions for our group?
All right. So, our group is the Persistence Group. Our names and what we do is not important. Next slide. Including myself, doesn't matter. We all work at Coastline. So, also, before I get into this slide, we worked really, really hard to make our presentation disorganized and unclear. So if we fail in that and it actually is organized and clear, I'm very, very sorry. What does it mean to persist? Obviously, it means that you complete, that the students are going to stay at Coastline and that they receive what they need, that we're aware of what our students need, that they know we care about them. Because when you're cared about, you tend to want to stay where you feel cared about. It makes sense. Next slide, please. So, in doing the work that we have been doing for the past 2 days, we thought we'd actually try to directly involve you in some of the inquiry that we know that needs to go on. Ongoing inquiry, ongoing dialogue that Coastline really needs to work on. We want to improve the way that we talk to our students and how we talk with our students. We want to hear more of the student voice. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can go ahead and pretend that you're a student, you can pretend you're an employee, you can pretend you're both, because sometimes people are all 2 or 3 of those things. How connected do you feel to Coastline College? This is a very important question to us. So I'm going to pause awkwardly. Andy? Very. Andy says very. But it's an important question. Just let it sit with you for a second. If you were asked that, think about the college you went to. What if you were asked kind of routinely, how connected do you feel to our college? And even asking that, what does that really reveal? I think it reveals that the college hopefully actually cares about you and wants you to feel connected. Next slide, please. Describe a time when you felt dissatisfied at Coastline. We also felt this is a very critical question, area worthy of inquiry. Let's not assume what we think we need to do for students, and let's not be afraid to shine a light on what might not be so great. Next slide. What are your concerns about achieving your goals at Coastline? We spent a lot of time brainstorming about anticipating how to keep students moving on the path. Well, again, we just want to reemphasize, we need to actually continually ask students, talk with them, make them feel not afraid to share with us what may be going on and how we can help. Next slide. And finally, what kind of assistance will help you complete your pathway? So again, kind of the theme of not assuming that we know what the students need, but constantly involving them so that we make decisions with their constant input and involvement. And so next, we're going to bring it into our actual vision and our objectives and things like that. So, Lisa Lee.
Hello, everyone. As Guided Pathway movement across the country, among all the community colleges, we have to think how we do better for our students too. And the approach for Guided Pathway is not just about making the program for student only. We need to do more than that. Here, our group comes this vision statement. Coastline will proactively engage students to help them persist academically. And we have 4 objectives to support our students here.
So our first, oh, that's loud. So our first objective, you can read it here, is to create an academic persistence plan. We know here at Coastline there are a lot of programs and I'm learning them all because I've only been here about 25 days. But we have health services that are available for students. There is EOPS. There are student life. There's just a lot of events that are happening, and all of these things are very important to engage our students in them being successful. Whether it's flu season, hey, it's flu season, have you got your flu shots? We want all of our offices, all of the colleges to be able to produce marketing initiatives, to be able to produce a plan saying, hey, this is what's happening for the year, and we want our students to know about that. And we will definitely engage all forms of communication, whether that's social media, the website, whether we're putting things on boards throughout the campus, but we want students to know that there are resources here available for them, and oftentimes our students don't know, and even as staff, we may not know about these initiatives. So in order for our students to know and get the services that they need, we need to be able to provide that to them. So this is why our objective 1 is to create this extensive communication and marketing plan, and it's not put on one office, but it's done collectively as a university.
Objective 2, institutionalized and alert monitoring system. So early alert is not a new conversation for us, right? And as we've been having conversations, there sometimes are a confusion about which one we use, about Starfish or Civitas. But the reality is we're not using either for most of us, right? And so the best thing that we need to do is to start institutionalize the practices around using that, right? Because it's not necessarily the software that's the problem, right, or the challenge. It's going to be how do we create these best practices about utilizing it so that we better help our students persist. And we thought about that in 3 different levels. So 1 is the academic, right, thinking about how well the students are doing in classes. Number 2, enrollment. Are they enrolling to the next semester? Do they know that? Do they get that nudge, right? And then last is the student support services. So are they getting the appropriate services, and have we activated quickly enough to be able to address those needs before it gets to become a problem?
Our third objective is cultivate a consistent student-oriented customer service experience. A lot of this goes into having best practices to assist students, and then tools for creating connections with students. We want to make students feel like they're connected to Coastline. It keeps them coming back and makes them feel like they have a place of belonging. And then third is promoting a learning and professional development for our faculty and staff to ensure that clear and concise information is being delivered. We want to make sure that our staff are delivering accurate information, and again, it keeps them coming back to us to make sure that we're creating a sense of belonging and ensure that they're getting to the right place.
So Coastline has multiple campuses. For objective number 4, we want to make sure we're offering equitable access to services at all of our campuses and modalities. So we've done a good job with this with our tutoring services. We have tutoring services at each of our campuses. We want to do the same for our intercultural services, printing services. At each site, we want to be able to answer questions about financial aid. If we don't have a person there, we can have a kiosk or something that connect them to that office with a camera. We don't want to send anybody away somewhere. And as for me and Tom, as everybody knows, we want a VRC at every campus too. So.
Hi, I'm Oceana Kellum, And I just want to bring it back to the questions that Danny asked at the beginning, and to think about the students that disappear, and whether we can reach out to them with some meaningful questions to keep them with us. So the questions we asked you to think about at the beginning would be part of a system of inquiry and student feedback that would be a part of our program of regular proactive, but not passive, proactive engagement. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much.
So we are the program mapping team. My name is Dan Weber. I'm a counselor and articulation officer here at Coastline. And I just want to paint a brief metaphorical picture for you before we get into everything. So we'll call our student Mark Metaphor. And Mark is looking for an experience, and he's looking for what classes to take and where he wants to attend college. So Mark has been to the Chipotle model of classes, the a la carte version where he takes classes, we provide the coursework, but we don't provide a cohesive plan for him ahead of time. Mark comes to our restaurant, which we'll call Shea Coastline. We want to make sure he gets a 4-star experience. And even before Mark walks in, he already has what our offerings are, and someone outside to help him, not necessarily a specific person, but someone outside to help him understand what he's looking for. Here's the different menu, some of the different menu options available. Mark comes in, he's seated. The maitre d' is very accommodating for him, asking him what sort of food he would like to enjoy for the meal. We have a nutrition expert with him to make sure he's getting the food he needs to be happy with his choices. May drop a fork at some point. Someone's there to give him a fresh fork. Perhaps he needed a gluten-free menu and he finds out halfway through the meal, so we're going to provide him with the right meal and the right experience for his time with us. Let's see, do I have anything else on there? So with that in mind, Mark is there and he's having his meal experience with us, and we are making sure there's a sommelier on hand to ensure that the pairing of the wine goes with his meal choices. But also, his menu items are very much specific. Each course is laid out for him ahead of time, so he doesn't have as many concerns about what's coming next. He may not be a fan of escargot, so he'll know ahead of time there may not be escargot for him on that menu. He's not going to worry about that. And with that in mind, just a kind of a quick little story for you. We'll pass it on, and we're going to talk about our vision for
Hi, my name is Mary Kim. I'm the Associate Dean of CTE. I've been here at Coastline for about 2 weeks right now, but I have a great vision here, thanks to our team members. Okay, so we all know that students are taking way too long to complete. They get very confused about all the choices they have, and they get tempted to take all kinds of courses along the way because of their interest, and they do not know what their interests are. And it's taking them way too much resources. Student death is on the rise. So what we would like to propose is simplicity. Simplicity by clearly defining and streamlining the pathways. And if you see, we only have one slide, simplicity in itself. So from the start to recruiting, admissions, and instruction, where we are is the program mapping, and then completion to the end. To continue with the restaurant analogy, if you go into one of the chain restaurants, you have about 15, 16-page menu, and 18-year-old, imagine 18 or 20-year-old, very tempted. Order this, order that, should I take this? Taking way too long to make a decision. But if you go to Shea Coastline, you only have 4-page menu. And the secrets are this. First, you start with simply good ingredients. No additives, no preservatives, okay? Second, you have to have thoughtful, caring, and skillful chef in the kitchen. Third, you need impeccable service with smile, okay? That's genuine, not... Now imagine Shea Coastline, afterwards you're going to be totally satisfied. You will not remember that there was no 20-page menu, but you'll be happy. Translated into instructional terms, simply good ingredients, simply well thought out good pathways and programs that students could take, courses that are in sequence, well thought out for students. Secondly, we have faculty who are subject matter experts and who care, and administrators and resource folks who provide the money. Third, impeccable service with smile. That will be the student services, the admissions, student support staff who provide support from the beginning. Actually, our goal is to provide it before the beginning, before the pre-service, provide them with the support and welcome and career exploration, and entice them to come to Coastline, and throughout the whole process to instruction. And the result is, I would say, just think about what do your parents say? What does your mom say after you eat dinner? Floss, brush your teeth? Okay, I would say we will have a resulting SLOSS, SLOSSS, superior level of student success and satisfaction. And with that, I'll give
I'm Joshua Leventis, now the Guided Pathways faculty coordinator, but also still communication studies faculty. So how are we going to accomplish all this? How are we going to get to this point that we've been talking about? And we came up with 6 objectives that we feel will get us there. And the first objective is that we need to create academic and career focus groups. So we are going to rearrange the way in which a student, before they even come to Coastline, sees our programs and sees our college, right? The second part of that is incorporating the new AB 705, and so that we'll know that the first part of that, of course, is that regardless, they're going to meet the requirements that they need, and of course that we're meeting our requirements that we have to live up to. Of course, then the third part of that is the faculty are going to have to get involved. And so we're going to ask the faculty to redesign the curriculum to incorporate basic skills for careers into each of those academic and career groups, right? So the big part about the reason as to why we call them academic and career groups and use that word group is so that when students come into Coastline, they feel like they belong to something, right? They're going to be part of the liberal arts group, or they'll be part of the science group, and they'll know that they are part of that group at Coastline. Give them an identity to live up to, right? So the fourth part of our process is going to be design a process to align the students with a career group before they enter their first semester. So they'll know what group they belong to before they step onto the Coastline campus. The fifth objective we came up with is to create a mandatory course requirements for the first 2 semesters, right? Of course, that's going to align with the general education needs of AB 705, but in addition to that, we're going to add other components, career exploration classes, the how to be a dolphin, Danny, and look for ways to incorporate this not only to our face-to-face students, but our distance students as well. So perhaps this will be a course that can be offered as a module at the beginning of any course. Right? And finally, our last principle is to ensure that this redesign of the curriculum and redesign of these academic and career focus groups are aligned with appropriate milestones that interface with the other college resources that all of the other groups today have worked to create. So part of this as well is, as we were going through this process, we started to think about, well, in order to make sure that these objectives are confirmed, we need to know if the students wanted it at all. So we came up with several questions that will be shared with.
By me. My name is Anna Isbell, and I work in the CTE department as an instructional associate. So as we move forward with student focus groups, some of the questions we'd like to ask are, what do you think when you hear the term academic and career groups and focus areas in regard to choosing programs or majors? In other words, is that a meaningful term that we can use in establishing those? Would identifying yourself within a career or academic group increase your feeling of inclusion in the Coastline family? What expectations do you have from your coursework, or program level or coursework? What would you change about your path selection in regard to courses and time goals? What guidance do you feel you needed in determining your program, pre-Coastline, entering Coastline or during your time at Coastline? What challenges do you face in selecting your path and courses? How prescriptive would you prefer your coursework be? Would you change your opinion of attending Coastline if you were required to take a course on career goal planning and college success?
Those are some of the things we thought about when we were discussing some of the objectives and where the students would receive that. So that's where we're at with the program mapping currently. And at the end of the meal, Mark Metaphor is leaving the table. He's getting ready to leave the restaurant, go on to the rest of his day, the rest of his college experience, his goals. And he's leaving with a full belly of skills, experiences from Coastline, and a nice foil swan to take with him for his next stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are your financial stability and holistic wellness group. Don't you already feel better just hearing that? My name is Claudia, and I am an EOPS counselor here with Coastline.
I'm Nathan Braze. I'm Director of Student Life and Outreach.
I'm Ann Holliday. I'm with DSPS.
My name is Chin Pham, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid.
My name is Maria Hernandez Figueroa. I'm an EOPS specialist, and I work with our foster youth population, and I also chair the work group for homeless and foster youth.
Hello, I'm Araba Mensa, the Manager of Student Services and Partnerships in the Extended Learning Department.
Tom Boskamp, Veterans Resource Centers.
So the next slide that we'll go to is our vision and mission. So I'm going to read to you our group's vision. Coastline College students will have universal access to all needed financial and wellness resources and be prompted to utilize them.
And I'm going to cover our mission statement. Pardon me while I read from the slide. Our mission is to ensure that students are provided with the resources for financial stability and holistic wellness, such as financial aid, employment, housing, life skills, physical and mental health resources at each step of the student life cycle. In addition, we will equip and inform faculty and staff about the available student resources.
So now we're gonna ask you to help get in the zone. So take out your smartphones, it's totally voluntary. You take out your smartphone and go to kahoot.it, and we'll pull up the code right now. So kahoot.it, Kahoot. And as we play this game, we would like to also have you think about why it's important that our students have financial stability and enjoy holistic health. We'll wait for a few more. So we're gonna start with our first question. Go ahead, Claudia. Game on. All right, if a student needs to see a doctor, where would you refer them to? We have Red Student Health Center, Golden West or OCC Student Health Center, Memorial Care next to the College Center, or Memorial Prompt Care in Huntington Beach or Westminster. Claudia, do you have the music? All right. The correct answer is Memorial Prompt Care in Huntington Beach or Westminster. That's where we could send our students with their paid health fees. 10 of you got it. All right. Yeah. So here we go. Top Jimmy, who's that? No, don't you? Number 2, what are the top reasons that students identified for dropping out of Coastline? Is it access to daycare? Is it the course rigor? Is it personal planning and finances? Or is it access to technology? I have 12 seconds. And the correct answer is personal planning and finances. Yes, so think of why that's important for our students in their holistic well-being. Steve, good job. On to the third. Which areas below affect student wellness? It was finances, housing, and spirituality. So is it financing and housing only, finances and spirituality, all of them, or none of them? Ten seconds. Yes, all of the above. Finances, housing, and spirituality all have an effect on the holistic wellness of a student and if they feel balanced. Okay, next question. Oh, thank you, weirdo with a beardo. I think it's you. Very good. Okay, number 4. What percentage of our students receive an income-based waiver? Is it 90%, 49%, 60%, or 15%? All right, the correct answer is 60%. Very good. So this shows, thank you for the data, Erin. This shows that 60% of our students are low income or receive it, who apply for financial aid. CP, good job. Good job, everybody. Okay, California Community College System students are more likely to have considered suicide compared to students nationwide. True or false? Yes, and the correct answer is true. So we hope these questions started to underscore why this work group is important and that we address the needs of the students across the whole student life. And now I'm going to pass it on to Claudia. Yay! CP? Who's CP? Oh, Cody.
Let's give it up for Cody, the winner.
Thank you.
It seemed that you all enjoyed that activity. So as you all saw from the Cahoots activity that we did, this aspect of financial stability and holistic wellness incorporates a lot of different areas. We came up with some examples of what we would be covering with our approaches. And this would include not only making sure that all staff, faculty, students, and administrators have access to the information, it also requires creating a resource bank for that information, and then making sure that in all of the approaches that we're using campus-wide, that we are making sure that we include these different approaches that we want to take to the care of our students. And these would be finances and employment, supplemental and financial support, housing, life skills, cultural and personal identity, supportive relationships, and community connections. That means connecting students to campus or to resources on our campus as well as our surrounding communities. And we did actually have a conversation about some critical groups, including our distance learners. So the challenge there is making sure that we have the resources to connect our students that may be out of state or maybe in Northern California or in other counties besides Orange County. And this conversation was also about our incarcerated student population. How do we offer them resources? What kinds of resources can we offer them? Physical and mental health were included in that conversation, and we had a different plan than what we did, so that's why that slide was just there.
So I'll read a little bit about Objective 1 and share a little bit of our action items as well. Objective 1 is about creating a college culture that recognizes the role of financial stability and holistic wellness in student success by providing professional learning opportunities to faculty members, classified professionals, and administrators. It focuses on building awareness and dispelling misconceptions of financial stability and holistic wellness, and reduce stigma associated with accessing services. So number one, what we would like to do is make sure that we have the wellness list that with the resources included in our orientations for new employees. Also to train all our staff and faculty on how to recognize needs within students. We also want to build a module in the student orientation and make recommendations to the other groups on how we can promote wellness on both the financial side and holistically.
Objective number 2, as I shared before, would be develop a resource bank that informs and engages students to access and utilize programs and services to support financial stability and holistic wellness. We all work at Coastline, right? And even for us, sometimes it's difficult to remember what resources we have available to us. And one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that we have a database that students can access. We had conversations about how we would help students evaluate the types of needs and resources that they are after. We do have an existing resource page right now, but we did notice that it was actually really difficult to find information about health resources for our students. Students know they pay for the health fee, but they don't always know how to access those health services. So that's a big part of what we want to do in as we move forward with this implementation.
Great, and finally we want to create a communication plan. And the communication plan is not just about passively giving information on where you can find resources, but really about engaging students with those resources. So a big emphasis that we discussed in our group and with others who consulted with our group is to make sure that there is an increase of utilization of the services that we offer. So we want to be more creative with our communication plan, more proactive, really helping students to get directly connected to the resources.
And our objective number 4, increase the utilization of program and services offered to increase financial stability and holistic wellness. So this would include offering things like workshops that help students not only learn how to get their financial aid, but how to keep it. Right? We run into that a lot. Students get it, but then they're not aware of all the rules and regulations regarding their satisfactory academic progress policies, and to make sure that they're keeping that, because we know that that's a really big part of them being having their basic needs met so they can then focus on furthering their education. Also, we wanted to make sure that we are well connected with our local partners that offer workshops on mental health resources, and part of our plan is that once we do get our mental health workers, the counselors that are coming in, to begin to include them in, various services. And we have already talked to Bruce, briefly about that. So they're going to be busy once they get here.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the groups. Thank you, Claudia.
Good afternoon. Thank you. That was the conclusion. No, we are the Career Development or Career Exploration Group. And so what I would like to do is introduce the members of our group. We have Laura, and Paolo, Cassie, Casey, Lynn, Ryan, myself, Rick Lockwood, Marilyn, who is right. Oh, okay. There she is. And Michael and Nancy. So as the Career Exploration Group, we see ourselves as the dessert at Shea Coastline. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. Let's face it, students come to Coastline and take our programs of study and our certificates and degrees and so forth because they have goals in mind. And if we can't do that, then essentially we haven't done our job. So what we'd like to do is talk about how we want to do that. So we are going to talk about we talked about the team, we have our vision, our objectives, and some focused questions, and then we'll talk a little bit. Boy, it's annoying to talk in your own ear. So we'll talk about the vision. And I just want to say that our vision focuses on several key points. One is to empower students, to make informed education and career decisions. We first start talking about careers. and what they would work on. And then we realized, you know, we have students that come to Coastline for 2 years and they want to transfer. That's an educational goal, and we need to support that as part of their career progression also. And so that was one of our main focuses that we looked at. Additionally, we want to make sure that they understand what the relevant careers are and what programs of study will help them get there and how they make that determination. It also needs to be really based on what the students' values, interests, and strengths are. So that's our vision and what drove us through this process and how we were going to come up with helping students get to that end goal of a career that will help them sustain them for the rest of their life. As far as our objectives, we came up with 7 main objectives. And those had to do with the who and what. We need to understand who our student populations are and their education and career goals. So who are we talking about? That's the first thing. And we can't really help anybody if we don't know who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. We want to connect our majors, certificates, our degrees and certificates to potential student educational and career goals. So what, if a student says they want to be in business, I'll use that since I'm most familiar with it. What does that mean? Because the first thing I ask the students, what do you mean? What do you want to do in business? There's a lot of things you can do. And we need to help them find that, understand what those options are, and then help direct where they're going. There's a big difference between getting a certificate or an AA in business management or getting a transfer degree in business. Very different in terms of what the requirements are and the courses they would take. We want to include much of this information in the orientations. We want the students to get this information as early as possible to help them plan and decide what their direction is. We can recommend career exploration courses. We softened it to recommend. My thing was require. And we can still come back and do that because this is a living document. But at the end of the day, we want them to be looking at things, and we want them to have these opportunities and make sure that they know they're available to them. Okay? We're going to incorporate career information in courses. We're going to work with faculty and make sure that they understand as they talk about their courses, what does it mean? What do you do with that? And why is it important to your career development? We want to develop faculty and peer mentoring programs where students can talk to their peers about things that they maybe can't or don't want to talk to a faculty member about, but also talk to faculty members about what does it mean to be in business or to be an accountant or whatever. And so we want to encourage that and build that process in. Okay? And we also are trying to find ways to increase the experiential learning, internships, things like that. So we came up with some focus group questions that we thought might help us find out some of this information. So one is, how can Coastline make it easier to understand how the different degrees and certificate options tie in with career goals? How do we first talked about, well, we'll do a survey. And we said, we really need to talk to students. And so the focus idea came out, the focus group idea. And we decided to go with that. Describe your understanding of credit versus non-credit and how that fits in. Would you prefer a career class to be general or specific? And finally, would you be interested in a peer mentoring program? And should it be within the major, or should it have some different focus? So we need to find these things out. We need, as a marketing point, we need to understand who our audience is and what they want, and what are their needs, and how do we meet those needs. I'm going to turn it over to Paulo.
Hi everyone, I'm Paulo. I'm the Career Center staff here at Coastline. And so we plugged in the objectives with the student cycle. So first one is clarify connecting majors to careers. So on our website, and Don's doing a great job doing that. Again, like what Rick said, connecting the majors with what careers they could do with that. And I think that's really, really important So having salary information, faculty biographies, right? Because a lot of students, they come to me and I have to direct them to like Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, UCI because they have faculty biographies and we don't. So we have that, it's gonna be super helpful for them. So like a page where if they hit a meta, like for example, this ASU, these are like really great examples of colleges that are already doing it. And hopefully we'll send out these slides, that way everyone could explore this. But if they click that, they click one of those meta majors, it lists out different majors, it lists out occupations with job growths and salaries, and students love seeing those things. Because again, we have to begin with the end in mind, like what Dr. Adrian said, right? If it's just academic goals, that's why we have a lot of students just dropping out. If it doesn't make sense to them, they're just gonna drop out. Okay, so next. So also adding career information, this is occupational handbook. So I already mentioned that. So next. And also, we really, as our team really talked about the career exploration course, and also like a part of my dissertation is actually career exploration and guided pathways, and everything's saying that that's like one of those like best practices that a lot of guided pathways colleges are already doing. So also we recommended to have some kind of career exploration before ed planning, because it doesn't really make sense for students to choose a plan when they don't know what the end goal is. So some kind of career exploration before doing ed plan. And also first semester career exploration course. And then one of the best practices was, and a lot of colleges are doing this already for their career exploration course, is implementing MBTI and also strong interest inventory. It's a good start for them. And also inviting guest speakers from different fields, right? Because it's good to have a general career exploration, but having someone from STEM, having someone from the arts, from the history come in and talk to the students is really, really good for them. And I actually surveyed my students, so that every time they come to the Career Center, I do ask them, is this course gonna be beneficial? 99% out of 264. So that 1% is like the ESL student that they don't really want to take. Their career's done already. They just want to take those ESL courses. So next. And in terms of persist, we talked about peer mentoring by major. So for example, if a first-year math student comes in, connecting them with a second-year math student. Because there's one thing for faculty and admin to tell students that, but it's different when it's coming from another student. It's a different perspective. So leveraging IRC's peer mentorship program, we have it. We just have to leverage it, right? Also increasing experiential learning opportunities. So working with Casey with ASG, campus organizations, and also for the department chairs to work with career centers. That way you could update what's happening in their field on our website. That way everything's live for them. Okay. And for faculty, making course material relevant to real life. So explaining why you're doing what you're doing. So for example, one of the top skills is collaboration, digital fluency, and connecting that. So if you're doing this assignment, how is this connected to what you're gonna do in the actual job, right? Because a lot of times it's like, here's an assignment, but not really explaining why. So I think that why question is very, very important. And also like, so Laura said that incorporate career information in courses. So what careers can I do with this history class, with a history major? Because sometimes students might take a general ed, but they're just taking that class just to take the class, right? But it's so much more meaningful for them if you're able to connect your passion. That's probably why you're teaching what you're teaching, right? To what careers lead up to that. So utilizing the discussion boards, incorporating YouTube videos, and then having like a standard format for that. Okay, this is a picture of our group. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. We are the Professional Development Work Team. I'm Karen Conlisk, and I'm with the Extended Learning Division. The rest of our group will introduce themselves after our skit. We did things a little differently. We knew everybody was going to do a PowerPoint presentation, so we have a skit, and we are reading some things. Our vision is to offer professional tracks for focus areas in personal and career development. Each bundle of focus areas is planned, mentored, and scheduled throughout the year. Outcomes include all employees being more engaged, supported, and resourceful for student success. That's our vision. Oops. Our objectives are to develop professional development tracks with concrete paper trails, with signatures, timelines, and scheduled calendar in advance, conducted needs analysis, develop a communication plan, establish a mentor plan, and define measurement for success, and establish a follow-through process. So right now you're going to watch or we are going to show a student navigating the student life cycle process. And the last group was dessert, so we are the after dinner drink.
Ring, ring.
Good morning, Coastline Community College. Hi, potential student. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling because I understand that Coastline has outstanding programs that are flexible. Can you tell me a little bit about your programs in the college?
Well, because I've attended professional development designed for classified faculty and questions and help you succeed on your path to student success. Professional development improves performance.
Rosalie, thank you so much for clarifying things for me. I think I'm ready to enter the path. Hello. I'm interested in applying for the college and also registering if I can, but I'm a little concerned that I don't have enough money to pay for college. Can you help me?
Because of my professional development track, I know how to help you apply for the onboarding system, financial aid, and develop educational plan.
Wonderful.
Welcome, student. I feel great today. Because of the skills and knowledge that I have learned through my personal professional development track, I can guide the student through the enrollment process and provide them with the support services they need. I feel great today because I'm helping a Coastline student succeed.
Oh, thank you so much. I could do this. Sasha, Malia, come on. I have to get to class. Get your shoes on. Thank you, babysitter. I'll be back about 10. Oh, hi. Oh, sorry I'm late. I didn't realize how stressful it would be attending class, and I'm just so nervous about this test. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. You're only 20 minutes late today. That's much better than the 30 minutes from last class. Because of my professional development training on empathy, I can relate to students being late. I'll send her a behavioral nudge so that she'll only be 15 minutes late at the next class. That'll help her to persist.
Our experience shows that students sometimes fail to succeed their pathway, not because of the difficulty of the class, but because that issues in taking tests, anxiety, reading apprenticeship, mindfulness practices, metacognitive experience. Please do not hesitate to get help from our professional development on the issue.
Are you ready to succeed?
I am. Well, how can you help me? I've finished my paralegal studies and I'm ready to move into the workforce. I have children to support, and so I need a full-time job, but I'd like to transfer to the UC or CSU system to complete my bachelor's degree. Can you help me?
Well, because of my professional development plan that I've had, I am able and so excited to help you finish that process. I can help you with your education plan as well as looking towards getting a job. I can help the student in applying for a job, knowing how interview skills, how to complete a resume. Also be able to use the resources that we have. My professional development included to know all the resources available to the student as well as to the employees. And so one of the things I know is to help the student attend a Hire Me workshop.
I am so glad you asked about this. Because of my professional development track, I can help you to transfer, get a certificate, or connect you with industry expert panels. Congratulations, Coastline graduate. Thank you. I'm Marilyn Brock, English faculty.
I'm Sylvia Amito Ilao. I work in the Faculty Success Center.
I'm Chao Tran, Math Department.
Mitchell Alves, faculty.
Karen Conless, Extended Learning.
Kwanzaa in financial aid.
Rosalie Trigg, Student Services and Senate President.
Renate Akins, Director of Human Resources.
Well, I am very impressed. Very impressed. I thought those of you who weren't here should know they had a little over an hour to prepare their presentations. That was it. So that was amazing. Thank you. I just want to thank each and every person who was here, engaged, really focused. It was kind of a grueling 2 days, as we all know, with a conference. It can be a lot. And you were all really very engaged, and I'm delighted. I'm so proud of the work that we've done. I'm so excited for the snack that's about to be right now. So we're going to have some snacks in the back and some time for some socializing and answering any questions, talking with other groups, and try to have some time together to engage and discuss some of the things that we heard, share some excitement about the ideas. I think Dr. A has something. Oh yes, next steps. So the next thing that's going to happen is, we'll meet again in a year. No, I'm just kidding. It's government work, right? So what we're going to be doing from here, this is really our accelerator. So now that we have missions and objectives from each of the group, and we have a specific direction, each group is going to meet with Josh and myself and get feedback from the core team on those project plans that we've developed. And then we're going to start putting a timeline around it. Each group is going to have a call with our consultant, Rob Johnstone. So he's going to talk with them about his advice and his experience so we can use all of his brain power. And we're going to have a project kickoff meeting for each of the projects that we're undertaking. So it's going to be really fun. Just to clarify, each work group is not responsible for doing all of the work, right? We're helping to lead that work. So this work is going to happen, as you heard from the objectives and the ideas. You saw things overlapping, things happening with that are already someone's existing job. This is going to be a very collaborative and messy change. That's how it goes. And so that's sort of our next steps. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. We do have in October 24th, we have our next consultant visit. So we may have some further meetings with them. But for the work groups, they know they're getting a template next week, and their project charters are due to us by October 1st. And then we're going to start putting these plans into action. Probably have to talk to the money people and the tech people. And no new money, I know, right? But anyway, love and support, just no new money. We'll see. We'll see what we can shake loose. Anyway, thank you so much for your engagement. And yeah, please enjoy the snack and talk and continue to collaborate. I was just really very impressed. And I didn't have to tell anybody to stop. Nobody went long in their presentation, which is awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.